Hi, Wes K here again for Comic Impact, and we're going to do a toy review today on the Arkham Origins Firefly. Now, before we get into the actual figure real quick, we're just going to do a little bit about the packaging, because if you're familiar with the Arkham line, you're familiar with this style of packaging. Now, they've changed it for this one because it's, I guess because it's the prequel game. I'm not that entirely thrilled with the packaging style. The way they do it in the box, all the hangers get bent, it's an awkward shape, it doesn't really hang well on the wall in a store or in your own home collection, and the fact that it differs so much from the other packaging style, it doesn't really fit in line. And now I'm wondering too, when they come out with the next game, which packaging style are we going to be on? Are we going to do a whole nother packaging style, stick with this one, or revert back? That way the Arkham Origins line really just stands out for whatever reason. Also, one of the other things is if you're familiar with this line, one of the first figures they did was the Bane, and he came in a cardboard packaging that had just a triangle shape and was completely different and looks like a whole nother line. So hopefully they get their stuff together and decide exactly what packaging style to go on, especially since we had so many other series in the other packaging style. It really didn't make sense to do this. I know they were trying to freshen it up and redo it, but sometimes they just need to leave well enough alone. So while I open this, we're going to get a quick view of some of the other figures that have come out along with Firefly at the same time. We got the release of Firefly, Deadshot, Deathstroke, and Anarchy, and they all look great. The reason I'm going to open Firefly, he doesn't get made that often. He's a character I kind of like, and I really want to see what he's like out of the package. Now, since these packages are all plastic clamshells, you're going to need a scissor or a knife to open them. And please be careful when opening them, because the plastic will be very sharp and will cut almost as good as a razor blade. Okay, here's our first look at Firefly out of the package. And we're going to get his wings set up now so that we can fully set our Firefly figure up. Okay, now the wings are both individually grooved, so one is going to be a left side wing and the other is going to be a right side wing, and I'm going to put him down real quick so that we can see the peg openings on his back. And there's a larger, it's almost in a triangle type shape, there's a larger groove at the bottom, and then it gets smaller as we go up to the top, which is meant for this groove right here. As you can see, it's got the circle on the bottom, comes up to the triangle. So this is going to be the right side, and it just snaps in. And then this is going to be the left side, and again, just a little bit of pressure. Oops, let me get it lined up right. Move it on. Okay. And there is our Firefly with his wings on. Okay. They did a nice job on the figure with the paint job. Firefly, whenever we've seen him in the comics, rarely does he ever have a suit that is in perfect, pristine condition. And as you will note, on the harness straps right here, they are not a clean, vibrant yellow. They're actually dirty. There's some scuff and notch marks on them. Also, too, if you look at some of the wings, you can see some little dirt spots that they've done. We're going to lay him down just for 1 second. So right here you could see some scuff marks on the wings to show some damage, where he's obviously banged into things or had some scuffles with Batman, maybe caught a couple batterings to the wings, and you could see that they took the paint off and there's the silver underneath. And again, on this side there's some damage and some scuff marks, some little scratches into the paint job. I'll lift them up right here and you could see, again, some damage marks. I like that they do that, because especially in the video game, if you do get a chance to actually look at him while you're trying to fight him or before you fight him, you'll notice there's a lot of damage and scuff marks all over his outfit and uniform. Okay, they gave him with his flamethrower. As you know, Firefly is a pyromaniac. Part of the reason he is in the suit is because one of the times he was burning things down, he got caught in the blaze, and most of his body is a charred, mangled mess. So not only is the suit to protect future outbreaks, but the suit also is to kind of protect his skin from infections and things like that, since it is so mangled. Alright, now we're going to pop his wings off really quick, and we're going to take the flamethrower out of his hand just so we can take a look at some of his articulation points. Now he is weighted fairly well. Since I haven't messed with his legs a lot yet, the wings weren't throwing him back terribly hard. Now we're going to take a quick look, and right here, this little notch right here is for the flamethrower, and it fits into this little groove right here. It does pop out. So if you do want the Firefly without the flamethrower and just the wings, that is a possibility, which is always nice when they give us little options like that. All right, now we're going to flip them over really quick. As you can see, they've done a lot of detail with just his outfit and the extra wings on the legs. Okay. And then the actual canister grenades on his vest, the goggles, the little antenna on the helmet so that he can transmit or communicate with other people. Now on the wrists, as you can see, they gave us swivel feature so that we have some multiple points to style his hand. Okay, they've also given us the ball joint in the elbow so that we're going to get swivel motion along with up and down motion, so that we're going to make the life a little bit easier to pose and style our figure. Now, the upper arm, they gave us the full ball joint. This is one thing that, if you're familiar with this Arkham line, has kind of flip-flopped back and forth. In the last series, the first series, Bane and Batman were fully articulated, while the Joker and Black Mask had the old-style T-joints on the arms, so they only moved up and down. Same thing with the legs. As you can see, this is not the case, and hopefully this is the way the figures stay, fully articulated. Okay, now I don't know how much articulation they have, if any, with the head, so I'm just going to spin them real quick so I can take a look before I start trying to turn things. This last thing I want to do is break this figure. Okay, so it doesn't look like there's any articulation for the head to spin, and it does not look like this is a helmet that is removable. No, okay. So I just had to get that out of the way. Now the one thing I am noticing, and I'm going to turn it so that you can see it in 1 second, is there is no waist joint whatsoever. Now we talked last time about that abdomen joint that gives them the upper body motion, but there is no waist joint at all, so there is not going to be any swivel of the upper body at all. I understand a little bit of why they did that. It probably wouldn't function correctly with the wings. When you spun him, it would probably knock things off, but it would have been nice if he had that little bit of motion, since he does. It would have also made it a little bit easier if you have a flying stand to get him in a pose where he would be kind of turned and really look like he's flying or making a turn. But that's going to be one thing we have to deal with that. As always with action figures, there's going to be some sacrifices that we do have to make. Now, he does have the leg motion, and they did give us, it looks like a full, sort of, it's not a full ball joint, but it's not a T-joint either. It does have some outward motion, which a T-joint wouldn't have, but it's not getting the full range of motion. As you can see, it's a little bit of a different style of joint here. We do have knee articulation. It's down at the lower point of the pad, so we do have some knee motion. But again, there's no swivel motion on the leg at all, except for the little bit of outward motion. And now on the ankles, unfortunately, we didn't get any articulation. Ankle joints is one thing that should be kind of standard on action figures. It just makes standing them a little bit easier. Not a ton easier, but a little bit. As you can see right now, he stands fairly well. Once you put the wings on, sometimes it's a little bit of work. It's not something you're going to be able to see fairly easy, but if we can get a little zoom in on the foot, you can see that the back of the foot is sticking up a tiny bit, and he's standing more on his toes. Now, I guess the reason they try to do that is that way when you put the wings on, it'll pull him back a little bit. Unfortunately, if it's not weighted perfect, it pulls him back a little too much, and you get a figure that flops. Okay. Overall, they did a fairly decent job on this figure. Firefly is not somebody who gets made very often, and a lot of times when we have figures that aren't the most popular or don't get made often, they actually put the least amount of effort into them. So far, this hasn't been the case with this figure and most of this line. They are seeming to put the proper attention and details into these figures. Again, they did a fairly nice job on him. You could see the flamethrower, although I know they were trying to get in scale with things, you can see it is a little bit over elongated. It didn't really need to be that big. Maybe one of the things they could have done for us is, since this canister is right here, they could have made it where the tube pushes in and out, giving us a little more articulation on the point and kind of making it where if you want a snub kind of blowtorch, you could have it, and that way you can extend it. It would make it a little bit easier when you have a bunch of these on the shelves to kind of style him with his flamethrower out and maybe not bump into the figure that's in front of you. Alright, so we're going to clip his wings back on real quick, and then we're going to get to the score portion. Since there's not a lot of articulation points to point out, there's not much to really show you except for some of the other definition and some of the other things that are on his actual person in the outfit. But some of that we'll also show you in some of the still pictures that we always include with our toy review. So I'm just going to snap this one back in. And for some reason this left one just does not want to go on as easily as the right. Alright, so we're going to put the flamethrower back in his hand. Overall score for Firefly. I really like the paint job. I like the attention to detail. What I'm not liking is that this wing has popped out, I think, 5 times on me now, and it's really not staying in there, which is most likely going to be a fault of the joint, which means this probably won't be the only one this happens to. Unfortunately, since figures are mass-produced, when a defect happens, it happens to multiple figures in that line. So, score on this figure, for the lack of some of the articulation points, I would probably put it at like a 6. Being that it's so nice of a paint job, though, and the attention to detail and the actual grenades and everything on the suit, we're going to bump him up to a 7.5 out of a 10 on the rating scale. So if you have a chance, these figures are out and they're hot. Grab them while you can, because if it's like the first series, they will be gone in days. Thank you once again. This is Wes K, and hope you have a good day.